Welcome to Positive Moments with Andrew and Don.
Let everything go.
That was such a life-changing experience.
It's a way of life, it's a way of being, it's a way of thinking, it is mind management.
It inspires me to know that there's more to learn every single day.
Welcome back, everybody. Positive Moments with Andrew and Don, episode number 12. Today we're going to touch on something that is very, very important in our lives, if not one of the most important things. Food and positivity is our chat today. If we think about food and positivity, that saying that exists, you are what you eat, is really and truly very real. And we're going to dive into that today with our lovely guests. But before I go to our guests, we have my brother, inspirational speaker, Don Africa. Welcome, bro. Welcome.
Thank you. And Andrew, as you're talking about food, is such an interesting thing because we take it for granted. I mean, food is like really fuel. But there's so much more that we could learn about the particular topic of food. And there's some things, we have to face it, some things are good for us and some things are not good for us. And when we have to find out what's not good for us, we need to find out people who kind of walk the talk. You know what I mean? So I want to introduce our guests, and I want to start on my immediate right. And I have Adam Bartholomew. I'm going up in age here, right? So I start younger, I go to Adam, right? So Adam Bartholomew. Yeah, and by the way, things always start with Adam. I'll just leave that alone, right? So Adam Bartholomew. And then we go to Tracy Leeson. And Tracy, I want to start with you. This topic of food, you have been, through your own experience, things weren't going so well even in your own family as far as food is concerned. So, we talk about Adam, that means we could talk about Genesis and Revelation. But what was really the beginning of your journey with food? And tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay, thank you, Don. I am a certified health coach. I studied at the largest nutrition school in the world, the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And that's where I learned how food can be your medicine, basically. So it was an in-depth course, a year long, of learning how food can be mixed, food combining. And so you're right, there was a time when persons around me were suffering from different lifestyle diseases. And when I looked at it, the common denominator was bad food. And so I needed to find some way of getting around this and finding some way that would give you what you really need to eat. And that's when I discovered the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. So
there's a common denominator as you talk about that, Tracy, and it's even because we were both youth-link trainees in the bank. Almost like when we were 18 years old. And if I'm not mistaken, Adam, you're 18? And I want to almost say he looks like a head boy, but let me stop the joking because he really might be a head boy. So Adam, just tell us a little bit about you and this topic about food for 18-year-old. Tell us.
Well, first of all, Andrew and Don, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate the biblical allusion. Yes, I am the head prefect of Fatima College, and actually 2 years ago in 2019, some of my friends and I at Fatima, started a project of mental health advocacy. We wanted to raise awareness for mental health, not just in our school, but in our whole country, and end the stigma, because the topic of mental health and mental illness has like a taboo attached to it, right? So we started with that. We hosted a art exhibition showcasing art, depicting different forms of mental illness by Fatima students themselves. Then we went on different radio and TV stations to get the message out to the wider nation. And we took part in Project Care in helping to refurbish the Nelson Street Girls RC in Port of Spain. And so after doing that sort of work, clinical pediatrician by the name of Dr. Asha Pemberton recommended to the Pan American Health Organization that I join the PAHO Youth for Health group. So I started working with that extra-regional or regional team of youngsters. And in August, this is where I come in, where food comes into the equation with me. We hosted a webinar on transforming food systems for International Youth Day. And so I was selected as a panelist. I'm very grateful for that. And I got the opportunity to stress the importance of being mindful about what we eat and the processes that our food goes through from the farm to the table, and not only its impact on our health. We're going to talk a lot about food and our health today, but also the impact on the environment and the impact on the amount of food that other people could get around the world. And so I started the journey with mental health, and today I'm here talking about food. So I'm hoping that today we could maybe bridge the gap between mental well-being and food. What's your relationship? Food and positivity, food and mood.
Wow, food and mood. And as you talk food and mood, we're talking there's some positivity going to be impacted there. And Andrew, I know you have a burning first question for Tracy because this topic, I don't even think we have enough time for this topic, really. You know what I mean? So, Andrew, I'm sure you have a burning question because to me, we are, as you said in the beginning, we are what we eat. And I just want to know what we shouldn't eat and how we should eat. I don't know.
You know, Tracy, you, with all the experience you've had and all the knowledge you have gained over time, I feel like what you're seeing happening out there, there are a lot of mistakes being made. There are a lot of abilities to remove the pill and substitute with the food, like I believe we were designed to be. Where would you start around guiding somebody into that life? Food as medicine, I should say.
Yes, so as Hippocrates says, food is thy medicine and medicine is thy food. Um, a lot of our culture, our local culture, is what I would call a callaloo nation, where we put everything together, and then dessert. And what you find that is that that's pretty much an inflammatory way to eat. Food needs to be separated, and there's certain combinations of which food should go with each other in order for digestion to begin properly. And that's actually one of the things that I specialize in, gut dysbiosis. So when the gut is out of whack and there's inflammation, that can affect your skin, it can affect your sleep, it can affect your mood, it can affect even your thoughts. So once we start getting digestion down right, then we are actually creating energy. So yeah.
So we're looking at there's a process in which we do this. Um, could you take us through what a healthy or a well-designed day would look like?
Sure. Well, for me, a typical breakfast would be fruit. Not a fruit salad because fruits digest at different times. So you choose a fruit and you eat that.
So one fruit.
One fruit. Also, typically, we've all grown up, and so have I. I've not been a health coach my whole life. I did a lot of things that were wrong. I grew up drinking and eating at the same time, and it was only when I was taught that if you drink and eat at the same time, you're affecting stomach acid. So you drink a half an hour before your meal, your glass of water, and an hour after your meal, so as not to interfere with your stomach acid. So I would start with fruit. At lunchtime, when the sun is highest in the sky, is when you can digest protein. So you don't want to eat a heavy protein meal at night. That can affect your sleep as well. So I would have protein with vegetables, either peas and vegetables or a piece of fish with some vegetables. And dinner, I would have starch with veggies. The reasoning behind that is that putting protein and starch together in the same meal affects your stomach acid. One needs an alkaline base, one needs an acidic base, and effectively what happens is your stomach acid is affected, and that creates inflammation. And inflammation shows itself differently on everyone. And when you talk about food and mood, it can affect your thoughts, it can affect your skin, it can affect your blood sugars, your blood pressure. So, separating your food and eating it as how it's supposed to be. That, in the years gone by when we were sort of planters and mostly eating plant-based foods, that's when people probably were most healthy. And now that we've eaten things out of a box, we tend to, feel a bit lethargic.
And Adam, you're 18 years old. Food out of a box is a very popular thing in your generation. How do you tackle I would say, the struggles of eating well with the food in a box world that you are brought up in more than any of us?
That's definitely true. Eating out of a box seems to be the common thing these days, especially in schools where we have school feeding program, box lunch, and also in school cafeterias we get styrofoam boxes to eat our food in. So yeah, it's very common, and I think there are simple ways that we can avoid these single-use plastics that just get thrown away and then pollute the environment. We can take our own containers to school, because I'm still in school, take our containers, get it warmed up somehow in school, and that reduces plastic right there. But it's just that little step and preparation from home. So we need to be mindful of that.
You know, it's interesting. This requires some discipline. I mean, Adam is a disciplined guy. You can tell that already. Not just being the head prefect, you can tell he's disciplined. But eating properly requires discipline. And I mean, it's nice to hear an 18-year-old get an appreciation, even at this age, because I think it was going to give his life some, go a long way. You know what I mean? In terms of a healthy and a strong life. But this is really, really difficult because it's not us. We're talking about the Trini. We love our food. Let me tell you, we have to have that dessert. What? Well, maybe that's not correct. Let me look here. That's not correct. Could we not? Could we have our dessert right after our meals too? Could we just have some dessert?
Dessert is usually high in sugar, Dawn, and that digests so very quickly. It affects the body on a cellular level. Sugar is really one of the hard things that create the inflammation in the body. So a lot of times people crave sugar because what they've eaten didn't nourish them, and their brain has said, I'm still starving. And sugar is a quick way. It's sort of a fake energy. So
We'll be talking about sugar, and somebody watching this and might feel a little sour. Let me tell you, right? This is even for an athlete, because Andrew is an athlete, so he's an athlete. He has to be disciplined in the way he eats. He has to ensure that he can't take things that is going to really affect him on the water and so. But we're talking general Trinidad and Tobago, not an Olympic athlete, not a normal life. There's some things that we consider normal that are not so normal. And when we're talking about habits, it's very hard for us to break some bad habits. And I'm just hearing from the little that's being shared, we have some bad habits. And Tracy, if you could just delve into that a little bit, what are some of the things that we take for granted? Because we have some bad habits about eating, and it's so difficult to stop that.
people tend to eat eat without thinking. So they need to be more mindful eating. So if you're watching TV, you feel that you need to have a snack, instead of putting food at the right times. Food is your fuel. So if it is that you're a grazer and you're eating throughout the day, every time that you've put something into your body has to let go the digestion of the meal before. And that doesn't actually get digested properly. So that's where there's rotting happening. It's fermenting that's taking place. So that can cause a lot of gas and bloating. But once we eat 3 meals with maybe one snack at 4 o'clock, we find that we are more nourished, and you find that you're able to think a lot clearer, when you eat food that is nourishing.
So if I'm hearing correctly, a lot of how we eating could affect us later on in terms of illness. Wow. And you've had you did a little some studies, I imagine, on how youngsters, they may appear to be going through a particular illness now, and then that could be solved. Could that be solved from the diet?
I don't like the word diet, Don. It has the word die in it.
Oh my God, no, let's not die
And
right now.
it sounds like it needs to end before it begins. So I like to use the word lifestyle change. So if it is that you...
This is a bit tough. Andrew, let me just tell you, on Positive Moments, this is one of our tougher discussions right now. Let me tell you. I mean, it's a positive moments, but this is really hard.
Well, it is, because we're a culture that celebrates around food. And we, even from since, we've grown up that if you do well, you go out for ice cream. But nobody's going to take you for a fruit. So there's a mindset around it from ever since that we have to break that habit. You get a sweetie when you go to the dentist, a lollipop, or
So if you finish, you come to the dentist and they hand you an apple.
that could be a new thing.
So my journey on food is that you're very right that my mom has been very uh, I would say regiment of us growing up. The average snack, the average or the more like the average processed snack and the average processed soft drink and foods on the whole were almost never allowed in my home. So me as a rebellious one would try to find it on the outside, which I think is pretty normal. But having that base of knowing that for so many years when we invested that time to try and show us what was right, um, it's paid off because I've come back around to really connect with it. And the nice thing about that for me is I've actually gone beyond it to stop eating meat completely, or almost every single animal product. I would have a piece of cheese here and there. Otherwise, it's not something I like to consume. One, because um, I love the concept of what it's doing for nature, protecting nature, and the other aspect is the nature and environment on the whole because of the whole of CO2 emissions. And the other aspect is I found since I've transitioned into a more plant-based diet, my body thrives more.
Yeah, you have
And
more energy.
and more energy, exactly. And I think we all need to find a way of life that allows our bodies to thrive more. Um, Long-term success, or and if you do the hard things in life, life will be easy. If you do the easy things in life, life will be hard. It's really easy to get fast food, but what is the long-term struggle that will come with it? So that takes me on to the next question, Tracy, is that what do you have, why did you stop eating meat? Or what is his thoughts around eating meat?
I can't put a finger on it, but it's probably about 3 or 4 years. I I saw a documentary on how animals were treated just before they were slaughtered, and it really kind of stuck with me. Um, how the animals are feeling at that point in time is going into their meat, and just the humane aspect of it as well. I just felt that I didn't need to have that as a nourishment. So
And yourself? Are you a meat eater?
Yeah, I am on board with Auntie Tracy here. I also do not eat meat. I actually also watched a documentary. I don't know if y'all have heard of it, Game Changers, where they basically,
Beautiful one. I
yeah,
love that one.
I think they basically follow three different athletes. One is a bodybuilder, one is a long distance runner, and I can't remember what the last one was. But basically, it follows their journey in before and after they switched to a plant-based diet. And I think after, like, oh, the other one was a cyclist, and it was after she switched to a plant-based diet, she was able to keep training and keep competing for about 5 years longer. Yeah, much longer. So for sure. But I also agree with just not wanting to kill animals for my food because it's not necessary, as we could probably agree. But I'm also concerned when it comes to meat. Um, Meat is not the most efficient way of feeding people. For instance, I saw when you give 100 grams of plant-based protein to a cow, what you get out of that, for every 100 grams that you put in, you only get 4 grams of protein out. So that cuts it down significantly. So why are we going through the middleman of the cow when we could be going directly from the source and be getting a lot more food for more people, feeding more mouths around the world, you know? So
Common sense, I call that, no?
yeah,
Wow, wow. And it's very, very basic. I mean, some of these things we take it for granted, but the green is good.
green is good.
Green is always good.
Green is alkaline.
Green is alkaline. And what are some of the green things? So we're in a country that has a lot of green around us. What are some of the green things that we could eat? So let's start. We're going to start off because the fruit I got the breakfast, I got the fruit. I want to talk green now. Let's go with
Well,
green.
we have a lot of great green things. Bhaji, pat choy.
These are great for you. Great.
Yes, very good foods. These are what we call the alkaline foods. Proteins and starches are acidic. And so if it is that we're only eating protein and starches, then we create an acidity in the body. So alkaline foods like carrots and broccoli, cauliflower, bodi, pak choy, kale, all of these things are what will alkalize the body. And we need our bodies to be alkaline in order for us to thrive. So that's really the majority of our plate should be, this 80-20 principle. 80% of your food should be alkaline, 20% should be acidic. And then digestion really is improved and energy soars.
Well, I want us to let's talk solution, because positive moments is always about solutions. I know I've been to your home and your kids, they have healthy snacks. So there may be some young people looking on and you want to find out what is a healthy snack. What is a really, what could simply that we could do that would really make a difference in terms of a snack? Because we always like to snack. We have to watch television, we have to snack.
But she said you shouldn't be snacking at the
Shouldn't
start.
really be
at 4 o'clock.
snacking.
I'm talking about the 4, I remember the 4 o'clock, at 4 o'clock. I didn't say that's 4 o'clock, but 4 o'clock.
Healthy snacks would be some avocado or guacamole, some
With a chip or
not really a chip. You could probably use cucumber wedges.
cucumber
So cucumber
and fruit.
Yes, exactly.
So no onion in the guacamole?
Well, you could put and you could put garlic. That should be fine. But people who have digestive issues, too much onions and garlic tend to make them bloated. So I usually have to just watch to see where you're at to limit those things, or at least reduce it somewhat.
So guacamole is a good snack. But I think that's a great question you had done. Let's get even more graphic. So we start with a breakfast. That's a fruit, any fruit. Yeah. Is there any chance of 2 fruits mixing okay?
There are, but I'm not too. I know that fruits digest at different times. So if you kept the citrus together, you should probably be
All
okay.
right, good concept. Right. So that's a breakfast. Now let's look at 1 or 2 options of a lunch.
Okay. So I usually want to tell you that you look at your fist in terms of whether you decide to choose protein or starch. Vegetables, to me, are the starch.
I have a starch protein going on right here.
All right. No, but
Start?
you want this to be 25%, 20% of your meal, and the rest vegetables and a salad. Okay. And a lot of people are not actually getting these salads right. We tend to follow what we see, put every single thing into a salad. And so you've got nuts and seeds and chickpeas, chana. You've got fruits and all sorts of stuff going on in there. And once you start mixing foods like that, your salad can actually throw off your whole meal. So a typical salad should be greens, whatever you like that to be, whether it be lettuce, pak choy, because you can't eat pak choy raw.
You can.
You can, yeah. You can make a pak choy salad. So any sort of greens, arugula, local lettuce, romaine, whatever, grated carrots, celery, and
beets maybe.
No, beets are starch. So
beets are starch.
Yeah. So if you put that with a protein, you're actually messing things up a bit. So a lot of people.
But beets don't have a seed.
No, they don't. But they are starch. They are high starch.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, so a basic salad with let's say a piece of fish, some chunky vegetables or chow mein would be a good lunch, where this is the amount of your protein, and the rest of your plate, 80% would be vegetables. Those would be considered vegetables and salad. Those would be considered alkaline foods, and so alkaline foods are what will actually create an alkaline system.
So you now have a nice breakfast and a lunch. What's the time period between the two? Recommended. As you said, it's a great time to eat your heaviest meal every day when the sun is
highest in the sky. Yes. Yeah.
I don't think we need much tools other than to say, all right, lunchtime. Okay.
So if you ate your fruit at, let's say, 7 o'clock, by half 11, 12, you can be having your lunch.
You had those for day, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but what's happening is most of our nation is dehydrated, and hunger and thirst are the exact sensation. So, but most of the times we feel to eat, but we really are thirsty.
So let me just clarify that. When that sensation of hunger, is the body asking for water?
Our body's asking for water. And usually, if you drink a glass of water, within 10 minutes, you're usually fine. So, because most people are not drinking enough.
Which brings me to another point. We believe that when we eat, there must be a mountain. Now, some is Everest, some is whichever way, you know what I mean? But we must have a mountain of food. Is that a correct thing? Because we pack our plate, and then of course we have it wrong. We have the percentages off. But should we pack our? Is that just a feed what? Or could we eat in small
The
amounts?
thing is, we're eating meals very soon after, and once we start packing in like that, you find that you start to feel sluggish. So you've over digestion is a difficult process, and by putting too much in, think about it. I often tell my clients this: imagine that you're mixing a bucket of cement, and you put the cement to the very top, and now you have to add the water in. You just make a hot mess. So you want to eat 80% of your stomach. That 80-20 principle again comes in, so that there is room for digestion. And after you eat, you want to wait some time again before you drink some water. So that half an hour before, an hour after, just to ensure that digestion really takes place. So some people say, well, I'll choke. But that's because people are hustling. As a mother of 3 children, I can tell you that you do tend to hustle and you want to eat fast. But we need to slow down, because digestion actually begins in the mouth with digestive enzymes, saliva. So that's one of the things that we should really do, is to slow down and be mindful.
I love that. Slow down, be mindful. And when it comes to the ability of consuming, some people consume on a routine. But I believe that our best indicator of food is when it really tells us, or so the body tells us what we need. If it's calling for sweet, it could be good sweet. If it's calling for savory, it's good savory. And you could actually feed it what it needs, when it needs it, how it needs it. I know some people get it more at 7 o'clock in the morning, they have to eat. And then lunchtime is at 12, you have to eat. And then dinner time is at 7, you have to eat. But your enzymes, the digestive enzymes, will tell you, hey, I'm ready to eat.
Yes, a certain
And we should
type
listen
of food.
to that.
We
no?
should.
And the types
Should
also.
listen.
Everything we need to know, the body is signaling us. But it's a little more complicated to know what it's saying, right?
Sometimes it's screaming at such a loud tone that we miss it completely. And once we get it right, it can whisper and we know exactly what it's saying.
So you're still in school. You go to school and you have your lunch with you. Are you leaving your lunch out in the sun for half an hour before you have lunch? How are you warming up your lunch? Because we know, or at least if you didn't know, a microwave is terrible for you. It's just destroying all the good stuff in your food while you're trying to get a satisfaction of some warmth in your food. I believe it's better to eat cold food
So do I.
than to eat microwave food.
I agree.
How do you get your food sorted at school?
Yeah, well, I think I'm honestly guilty of using plastic microwavable containers, taking them to school, popping them in the microwave at the cafeteria, because I think that's really my only option, the microwave, at least at school. But as I'm hearing, microwave might not be the best thing.
So Tracy, what's the solution there? A salad for lunch? What can we do for lunch if you
If
don't
it
have
is
to
that
heat
you
up?
had leftovers from the day before and you had it on your desk, it's usually at room temperature. At some offices have well, not ovens, toast ovens, and so that if you brought your food in a food, a dish that was safe for the oven, you can use it in that. But I would say salads would be a good lunch as well. Just if you really have to have your food hot. For me, I don't have to.
So scientifically, what happens to the food in the microwave?
97% of the nutrition is lost.
What percent?
97.
Not 9 to 7.
No, 97. So what actually
So you might as
happens?
well not eat.
Well, what happens is now you've gotten all this food that has to go in. Your body has to try and make sense of it, and it can't even use the food as fuel.
Because they know that the food is
The food is so that's why but usually an hour after a microwave meal, you find that most people are looking for something to eat again because that whole gut-brain connection has been interfered with. So the brain didn't receive a message saying that it's been fueled. And so there's that need to keep eating again. You know, sometimes we look at someone who they think, you know, you might be a little overweight. Why are you eating so much? But if what you're eating is not nourishing, then you feel like you need to keep, you know, you need to keep eating again. Whereas if you look for stuff that's more nourishing, more vegetable, more plant-based, you will be fuller for longer.
So would you say that the body calls for food when it needs nourishment?
That's exactly right.
So if you're nourishing it with crap, then it will keep calling for more?
Well, it will, and on more frequent occasions.
Right.
So that's why we have a snacking culture.
Because it's saying, hey, I need more nourishment, I need more iron, I need more calcium.
I just need, and because we're grazing on sugar fumes, sugar is a sort of a quick sense of fuel, but it's not nourishing to the body. So.
And there's a nice movement nowadays on things like the green juices and the wild salads, like I said, with everything thrown on it. Would you say that is still a good start? That there's at least an awareness happening?
It is a good start.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
And when you done nowadays, for example, let's talk about when you're having your toothpaste and when you're having your deodorant. What are your thoughts on toothpaste and deodorant?
Well, before Tracy, fluoride. After Tracy, no fluoride.
So you're looking for toothpaste when you look at the label in the back.
Because
no fluoride.
No fluoride. And before you grow up on, all the ads too are sort of geared towards, these are things that you grew up on. So you look for fluoride this and fluoride this. And you know from this as a child, coming up, you hear fluoride. When you're buying a toothpaste, you just pick one with fluoride, whichever one. And you keep one close to you. That's why they get close up, I guess. But really and truly, when I learned that, and I said, but wait a second, the same way I could survive without meat and I feel healthier, the same way I could survive without the fluoride, and it is healthier for me. And what does the fluoride do, Tracy?
Fluoride accumulates in the body, especially in a gland called the pineal gland. And that interferes with your thyroid, it interferes with sleep. And so once fluoride becomes accumulated in the body, it can affect the body negatively.
Wow.
And what about the deodorant? What do you tend to find inside it that's not healthy? Aluminum?
Well, yes, and antiperspirants, you would find aluminum.
So
let me just interrupt. Is that the same as the alcohol? Because deodorants say alcohol. They have, what's that alcohol?
Not necessarily, but a lot of them, there are a lot of natural deodorants on the market right now, but there's certainly a lot that do still contain aluminum. And what happens is at the first sign of sweat, the aluminum and the sweat create a barrier. And so sweating is your body getting rid of toxins. And if you can't sweat out, your body has to sweat in. And so it lands back into your lymph nodes, which is, we find that a lot of lymph nodes, when a woman gets breast cancer, usually it's the lymph nodes.
I was thinking to myself, because I have a little newborn baby, and she doesn't wear deodorant. And I always go back to when we are young, we are the purest form. And in most cases, in the best working form, the most uncontaminated, I should say. And us as human beings, we grow up and some start to smell.
What we eat affects us as well in terms of what odor we would produce.
Is this another indicator that if our body's saying, hey, I'm smelling in certain areas, that's a message to change?
It is.
It is. So it's another indicator.
It is.
So one indicator is
it's
where
your breath
we feel.
As well.
Your breath.
Yeah.
What about your tongue? Your tongue could be a good indicator.
Yeah.
What does your tongue say?
A lot of people, not a lot, but you notice that a lot of people have white, crusty tongues. That is not very healthy.
What is causing that?
Well, that's sometimes something called candida or yeast overgrowth.
Which is coming from?
Too much sugar.
Too much sugar.
Too much sugar. Yeah. The eyes are an indicator as well. When it is that you can look at someone in the eyes and it's very yellow, that's indicating that the liver is under a lot of pressure as well. So the whiter your eyes are, that's the healthier most times that someone can be.
Well, couldn't we just exercise this whole thing off? So we eat badly, and because many people think if I'm exercising, I could eat whatever I want. Is that true? Many of us do that. We think we could just exercise and we'll be fine.
No, you see the internal body, that's your engine. So you could look at it like a car and fix up the outer part and do a body job, but you have to work on the engine.
Wow, because the engine is what really gets us from here to there. The engine is what keeps us going. You've had to treat quite a few patients, and of course there's a patient and your confidentiality. But when you see someone take these suggestions and then they see the results, I know, actually, she's going to go one time because I've seen her react when you know that these things work. They may seem a bit difficult because that's not the way we've been cultured, that's not the way we've grown up. But these simple solutions, right, and they could actually turn into really positive moments for everybody.
I've seen blood sugars improve, blood pressure. I've seen autoimmune, and really, it's what you give your body and what you don't give your body. That the body is. To me, I always tell my clients that the body is a miracle. It'll heal itself by itself if given half a chance. And what is really great is that I can tell someone what they need to do, but the hard work is them doing it. So I'm just so proud of my clients.
So let's take into another challenging place. You go to a restaurant.
Not lately.
So you go to a restaurant and an average restaurant, what is your go-to? Because a lot of these meals are already mixed in what is against your teachings.
So I would order sides and put them together. Yeah. So I would say if I felt for a potato that day, I would ask for potato, vegetables, and a salad.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would ask for a piece of fish, some vegetables, and a salad.
Right. So that way you still have the ability. And treating, is there something that, is better off to treat yourself every now and then, some good sugar that could, really solve a crave,
I'm not,
or you're not going to answer that?
I'm not perfect by any means, Andrew, and my kids would make cookies. I would ask them to use a better flour. I'd ask them to use almond flour or something like that. So do we snack? Yes. Is it always perfect? No. But that 80-20 principle, it comes back again. So if you do something 80% of the time, that's going to impact your health, overall. Whereas if every time that you're going to eat, you're going to hear yourself say, next time, then that's the problem.
You're going to wait till the hospital bed for the next time.
You have to start making choices right now.
So I believe that a lot of these problems are addiction, because from what I understood, I'm not sure if you know this or not, but one of the natural chemicals we produce, which is a very similar chemical that's produced when people take drugs.
Dopamine.
Dopamine, correct. Very good.
See, I told you.
So the dopamine, it's one of its main existence in the human body is to remind us to eat. If we forgot to eat and then feel great when we ate, then it's a chance that we will die. So with dopamine being there, it makes us feel good when we eat certain things, and makes us feel even better when we eat certain things, like the unnatural sugars. Or would you say that the control of oneself, even though it's hard,
it is difficult.
Possible?
It is possible, and it's difficult because right now this is a stressful time, and you know that most times when people are feeling stressed, let's say they had a breakup or something, they're not going after broccoli, they're looking for chocolate. So stress is something that we have to manage as well, because stress eating is what's happening a lot now. Comfort eating, people are putting on weight during this pandemic just because they're looking for food to be their reward. But they have to look at the big picture in terms of not now, not 5 years, but in 20 years, where will I be if I continue doing the things that I'm doing right now?
You talk about looking at the big picture. And we hear adults, so we adults here, and then we have the younger ones. And Adam, particularly, what message, because you're sitting down here, you're learning just like me, we're learning as well.
Yeah, I'm listening.
And what message would you send to a youngster your age or around your age in terms of what you're hearing about food? Or when you look to the camera and you just send a message home to a youngster about, because this is strange for you, but what does it take?
Yeah, so I think my main takeaway from all of this discussion is the quality of the food you're eating and the quantity and the frequency with which you eat it. And so one thing that is quite foreign to me that I'm learning for today is the whole concept of food combining with, you can combine protein and vegetables, and then you could combine starches with vegetables, but not starches with protein. So what seems to be the common denominator is the vegetables. So I think my main takeaway is eat more plants, if there's one.
Wow, wow. And Adam, I didn't ask you in the beginning, but now may be a good time to ask you, where do you see Adam down the road? I mean, you're in school, you may graduate soon enough, and so where you see Adam down the road, and particularly where you see yourself from a health perspective in terms of what you're learning now and you're willing to apply. Because I'm gathering Andrew, he's willing to apply what he's hearing. He's not just hearing and not doing. They're hearers and doers. So I think he's going to hear and he's going to do some stuff. Where you see yourself down the road?
Well, I'm at the stage now, I'm in upper six at Fatima. I'm looking at universities. And so it's really come for that time for me to figure out what I'm going to do. But I think I'm just going to be guided by my heart. I know I love biology, so I love these kind of discussions. And the reason I love biology is because I think that through that pathway, I could really make an impact on the world, like all of you are doing here. So I think something along those lines, whether it be health or research, who knows?
Excellent, Adam. Excellent, excellent. And we haven't done a word for a little while, so I'm going to let Don do something with the word plants, because I love the way Adam started with eat more plants, and I do agree with him that green really is a way forward. But what can you do with plants for us here today?
Andrew, well, I know at some point in time a word would come, so I have to kind of plan for that. But it's interesting with plants, it starts with a plan. And the plan is to make sure that the food that we like, at the end, you have TS. The plan that we like, what we like, the TS, the T is going to take us to the table. And that table, when we finish it, we're going to have the S, the success at the end of it. So the plans are actually something that we should have, but it starts with a plan. And it's not too young to plan. Even now, it's not too young for him to plan. You almost had me there, you know what I mean? But it's not too young for us to plan about what we eat. And if you're listening to us, this discussion certainly would be challenging for you. Certainly will be challenging for you. But let me tell you, accept the challenge. We are, in fact, what we eat. It requires some discipline. Not so easy for everybody to accept all the time. But I want to be here for as long as I can be here. I don't want anything, illness to take me out when it's something that I could have avoided, Tracy. And I think that must be very difficult for you, Tracy, knowing that sometimes the solutions are really right there for us. Right there. And I mean, you're giving us some easy solutions. I mean, to wait for the dessert is a, whew.
Dessert can put us in a desert.
The dessert, oh my goodness gracious. Andrew, she took over a word there immediately. The dessert could put us in a desert, but I want to tell you, Tracy, this is all learning. And everything that we've learned, there must be a beginning part of it. And even if it starts here on positive moments and somebody's more aware of I'll not say the diet, the lifestyle. I've learned too, just like Adam, I'm learning.
Because what did diet start with?
Oh gosh, yeah, hello, let's even go there, you know what I mean? Right? But we want to make sure, folks, that we do what we can do. And here's one thing, we think that we have to just jump into this immediately and voila, we just change. No, start small. Get the 80-20. You might start with a 30-70. And then you get to the 80-20. How did my maths there for school? Maths improved there? Not too bad?
Needs work, but okay.
Okay, but we could start there, right? We could start right there and just choose one day to decide to treat yourself. Andrew, let's give a positive moment challenge. We challenge you and what's the name of because you have a Facebook page. I think people could go on and get some meals. There's some menus there. What's the name of that Facebook page?
Realfoodmom.org.
That's a realfoodmom.org. Is that it?
Yeah, MUM.
MUM. Man, it tastes good.
But I know this discussion has been very informative, and I think it's one last other thing I want to touch on, because I do believe, from traveling the globe and seeing different body types and way different people eat, the more homemade something is, has a higher chance. I mean, you can
Being
make
nourishing.
being nourishing.
Exactly.
Because I don't think you're gonna put some of the things that you see in ingredients in your food. And other than that,
But I would
what's
say get kids involved.
yes, teach them from young.
Definitely. Teach them from young. If it is that a child makes something that is not as tasty, they're more inclined to eat it having put the effort in.
The last thing I want you to touch on is one, bread and fermentation. What are your thoughts on those two?
Fermentation, I actually make a drink called coconut kefir, which is a fermented drink. And so that is quite good for the gut.
What does the kefir do?
Kefir helps to seal your gut lining. It helps to build good bacteria, good flora in the gut. And once it is that the gut is populated with good bacteria, that affects the mind positively. It affects the body with energy. It helps with digestion. So
And bread. Let's say about bread.
bread,
Is there good bread?
there is good bread.
Is there good flour?
There is good flour.
Is what's the difference between bleached and unbleached flour?
Well, I tend to not look at bleached and unbleached, but I would look at more like non-GMO, non-genetically modified.
So you
So-
can get a non-GMO bleached and unbleached flour.
Not too familiar.
Because my understanding, well, first of all, using the word bleach
Yeah, doesn't sound good.
doesn't sound good.
No.
Because when you bleach something, you remove it, like how bleach would take
Yeah.
Stain off.
of your clothes.
Yeah.
It also takes
Nutrition out.
It takes nutrition, but the concept I understand of bleach flour is it makes it white. You whited the bread in the back in the days is the more status your bread had. Bread is not designed to be white, neither is flour. So that bleach was killing it, taking the nutrients out of it to make it whiter. And I try to stay away from bleached flour and only have fermented bread. Because when I've gone to Italy, and these guys eat a lot of flour, they eat a lot. They make their own pasta, they make their own bread, they
So
make their own
sourdough bread,
pizza.
then.
So sourdough bread, or you can't go to Italy and find sourdough bread necessarily. You just find that they ferment everything and they don't call it sourdough bread. It's just they ferment the pizza dough and they ferment the bread beforehand, and the focaccias and those kind of things. But
It makes it easier to digest.
that's exactly what I was going to say. The fermentation concept makes it easier to digest. But we're running out of time, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful session. I want to thank you all both so much for coming, sharing this very valuable information. It's time for us to have a healthier country, to live longer, to live happier. Most importantly, happiness. We want to consume happiness, and that comes also in your food and beverage. So we want to encourage everybody out there, what are you eating? What are you drinking? Drink happy, but happiness for longevity. Eat happy, but happiness for longevity. Done?
And what makes us really happy is we want to thank Republic Bank for making this positive. This is possible, in fact. I say positive because there's so much positivity coming out of the food. But let me tell you, this is Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. Folks, there's food for the mind and food for the body. We've given you some food for the mind to assist the body, because every positive moment makes for another positive moment afterwards. We ask you to join us on YouTube, Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. This has certainly been fun, and in a little while, we'll be gone.